Hey, so we are in a tiny house and we're gonna do a couple things because, we want to get more information and more connection with you guys. We're doing big questions in a tiny house. All right, so we're back and we're doing big questions in a tiny house. So over the week, we always get a fair amount of questions that come through our different, either social media or email. And we thought it might be a nice little time to sit down and just go through some of the top ones. So I guess the first one, what are the benefits of choosing a tiny house over a traditional house? Well, there's a list of them. The one that I really focus on is just the footprint and the environmental impact of a tiny house. You can imagine a larger house. 1,500 square foot house is not that big, but if you compare it to a 200 square foot house, your impact is immensely smaller. So that's where my roots come from, is just like all you need in this world really, and in this life, is to be able to, be comfortable. And then once you get into the tiny house world and the space, it has its own momentum, right? So it just it makes more and more sense. There's cost savings, there's flexibility with the benefits of choosing a tiny house. So number two, we've got, can you customize a tiny house to meet a specific need and preference? Yes, short answer, yes. We have a really easy form on our website. We call it a designer, where you can choose our featured items and our featured fixtures and how, the size of the bathroom, the size of the bedroom. Is there a downstairs bedroom? What kind of finishes do I want? Do I want black finishes? Do I want stainless steel finishes, champagne? All these choices are all laid out on a designer, and it really creates a customized unit, a customized tiny house. You can always go farther. You can always do a fully custom option. But just going through our website gets you to that customization right away. What is the cost range for a custom tiny house built, or custom built tiny house? Well, it totally varies. Even tiny houses, size matters a lot. So if you get a 16 footer or a 39 footer, your cost is gonna run just based on that size. And then you add extras. There's heating upgrades, there's appliance upgrades, there's flooring and tile, and all those kind of extras add. So go on the website, to see the base model. Once you go through the designer, you see the base price, and then you just add to that. Do you provide financing options for a tiny house projects? Yes, that was one of our biggest breakthroughs early on. We've been around since 2015, 2016 time when this company started, and financing right away was an opportunity for us to offer more, for more clientele. So if you had cash, great. Cash is easy. Financing is another step, and that really opens the door up for a lot more people. So we have an in-house finance manager that deals with third-party financing. And we've done this many times. So we have a lot of tools in our toolbox to kind of deal with issues that pop up. Can a tiny house be connected to a traditional utilities, or does it require alternative systems? So tiny houses can be designed for on-grid or off-grid. Even if it's off-grid system, you can always plug it into an on-grid. So you can plug it into a shore power outlet. You can park it next to your friend's house and plug it in, use their hose to hook up your water. So it's really based on standard RV hookups. So those are our travel trailer kind of models, and even our park models are pretty standard in terms of RV hookups. Just imagine a traditional RV pulling up to the side of a house or in a new piece of property. And how are you going to hook that up? And it's pretty standard. If you call up an electrician, they know what to do. You don't have to explain some kind of crazy concept. And then our off-grid options, we have in-house solar, right? So we have our in-house solar team, we can do full off-grid solar panels on the roof, inverters, batteries, all of that stuff. You can even plug into the grid and use the grid only when you need to. So you can primarily use the solar panels, and then if there's not enough solar, then the grid helps with backup. A lot of people have access to grid power, but just really want to have the ability to either go off grid or just know that you're creating your own energy you're harvesting your own energy from the sun, which is pretty powerful in itself. How long does it take to build my house? Now, if the tiny house hits the floor, we call it, actual physically get on the floor, it takes about 90 days to go through the whole build process. If you call me up today and say, hey, I'm ready to go. Here's my money down. I'm gonna sign the contract today. It's typically 4 to 8 months for you to receive your tiny house. 4 or 5 months is more common. It's a really busy season or complex build and design process. You're pushing more of the 7 months or 8 months. So it can happen really quick or long. Oh, and we also have inventory models a lot of times. So if you need the tiny house next week, and if you have cash or you're financing it and you can get through financing quickly, we could deliver next week for the houses that we have in inventory. So always check out what we have in inventory. Some of our clients actually go with a consignment option too. So maybe they want to upgrade and they want to sell their tiny house. We will sell it for them, and so that will also be listed on our website. Are there zoning restrictions or regulations for placing a tiny house on a property? This can be a really long answer to this question because every jurisdiction has a different way of dealing with a tiny house. And what is a tiny house? I guess I should start with our tiny houses are RVs. So we're RVIA certified, which is a national certification for RVs. So that means you could take this tiny house RV and drive it anywhere in the country, and that jurisdiction would know what it is. It's an RV. So each jurisdiction, meaning like city, county, even state level, may have rules governing that RV. Then there's another level of there's another level that you can dive into about certain areas want to see this RV used in a certain way. So that is, so different in every jurisdiction. So I would recommend just going down and saying, hey, to your local jurisdiction, hey, I have an RV. What can I do with it? That's a very good start to the conversation where you are living. Let's see. Can I move my tiny house after it's been placed? It's on wheels. So you can move it as many times as you want. And we have licensed and insured transporters that we're connected with. So I would recommend, subcontracting with a licensed and insured transporter. So, your tiny house is in good hands when it leaves and then arrives. But they're all over the country. It's a very common thing to do is to move RVs. So it's, I wouldn't recommend buying a very large truck to move your tiny house in 3 years because it weighs a lot. Unless you're really confident with moving large objects like a 20,000 pound tiny house, then I would keep it with the professionals. Can you build a tiny house suitable for a family with children? Yes, and you bet. We've sold a tiny house. It was a while ago. I'm just thinking about this one. It was a small family, meaning that their kids were small. They're like newborn and 3 and 4, I believe. And there's 2 parents, and we had 3 sleeping spaces, and they all lived in a 28-foot tiny house, and they loved it. So that was, you have that extreme. We also have just recently built one for a family of 4 with 2 teenagers, tweens, teenager ages. So we have 3 bedrooms, separate sleeping spaces, downstairs living, downstairs main bedroom. So there's so many options. It's all about what can we do for your needs, your budget, and how quickly you need it. Can I visit a model or tour a tiny house you built to get a better idea to what to expect? Better idea of what to expect. Yes, you can. So we do tours at the factory here, the facility. You can see how we build them. We also have an off-site spot that we either have clients that have finished their unit and they're waiting to be transported that you could tour, or we have inventory models. There's nothing like being inside a tiny house to really feel this, this experience. The first time I was in it, it was like, wow, this feels different. But then all of a sudden the windows are all, there's a kind of expansiveness, and yeah, I can easily make a salad at this kitchen, and the bathroom's fine, the bedroom's great, all the storage. So all these like unknowns really become knowns once you show up. So I definitely recommend showing up, giving us a call. We can schedule a tour. It's always the best way to make sure someone's here. So there you have it. There's some big questions answered in a tiny house. We do want to do this either weekly or bi-weekly. So keep the questions coming and I'll keep the answers going. So thanks so much. TrueFormTiny.com. Frequently asked questions in a tiny house? I mean, what do we have? Like a little corner? A little like...
The frequently asked question corner.
Yeah.
The tiny corner.
Tiny questions in a tiny house?
Tiny house, big questions.
Oh, that's good. I like that. So I'm just talking.